Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the topic of the panel discussion is what is missing in today's being and becoming. And we have four panelists who are joining us from various parts of the globe, and it is my privilege to introduce them to you. I'll be introducing one by one, and I hereby request each panelist to switch on their video cam as soon as I announce their names. So the first panelist who is joining us from UK is Sh.Neeraj Prasad. So I request you to switch on your video cam. Hello, sir. Joy Guru. So I'll quickly introduce you to the audience. So he's UK based for the past 5 years now and works for HCL Insurance as executive director. And he's based in London. Also, he's an MBA and has been a management professional for the past 22 years. Sir, I welcome you to the panel discussion.
Jai Guru. Jai Guru.
Next up, we have Sri Deepak Das from Ghana. So please switch on your video camera. Hello, sir. Joy Guru. He's a member of Chartered Accountants Ghana and Institute of Chartered Accountants India, and also an alumni of IMD Business School, Switzerland. I welcome you to the conference, sir.
Thank you.
He's Sri Subrata Nath.
Hello,
Switch on your video cam.
Sorry, ma'am. Actually, I have that problem. Webcam is mobile is not connecting with this thing. I'm sorry for this one.
Okay. So you will be available on through the audio.
Yes. Yeah. I'm available in the audio. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just quickly introduce you. So he's PhD in material chemistry from IIT Guwahati, and his research interests focus on synthesis of organic materials for optoelectronic devices. I can't pronounce this. It's organogelators. I don't know if the pronunciation is correct.
It's gelator. It's fine. Yes.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Sensors
okay.
and liquid crystal nanoparticles. Okay, so that's some heavy scientific words. So I welcome you, sir, to the conference.
Thank you. Jai Guru. Sabko.
Joy Guru, sir. Okay, so we have everyone, and to the audience, the panel discussion will be conducted by Jagannath, sir, who you have been hearing him for a while now. So he's helping us with all the back-end feedbacks and everything. So he is the moderator of this panel discussion. So from here on, I'm giving handovering the digital stage to you, sir, and you may proceed from now.
Thank you, Ashwati. Thank you so much. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you so much joining today in this conference. And the topic of this panel discussion is what's missing in today's becoming. I'm telling a story before we touch base on the panel discussion, and then from there we can build upon the discussion. I was a student at that time, and I went to some other country to do my higher studies. There was a landlady of that native lunch. She gave her room to foreign students, thought that students are innocent, they will be very less risk attentive. Based on that thought process, they rented the accommodation. They were retired fellows, so they thought that we can rent out and we can get some money out of them. That was a usual thing they used to do. Suddenly the students went to this house. They've stolen everything. There was a pen drive. They've stolen even pen drive. And that news was spread in that atmosphere, like students were banned. When I saw these students minded, they were from very educated fraternities. They were belonged to very highly reputed organizations, what you call, for which we fight for cat, mat, whatever you're doing, GMAT and G scores and everything. We are fighting and we are thinking that we or our next generation should go there in these kind of esteem organizations. So when I hear this kind of news, I think there's something missing. The basic part we are missing. There was another day, a lady was talking, a student, again from a very agile, very reputed organization, and she was sharing a story with her friend that I was taking an international flight and I have stolen their body warmer. And she was telling this with a pride that she has stolen the body warmer. The flight attendant gave it to her for temporary to just hold it for some reason. When I hear this sound, when I hear this noise, when I hear this kind of news, I think there's something missing. Something key element are missing. There's flood in Rajasthan. There's earthquake here and there we never heard about. And in recent days, my parents have seen the Second World War, but they haven't seen the stopped trains for weeks. When I switch on the media news channel, when I see this kind of news, I'm sure that there's something missing. And that's the topic of today, gentlemen, that what we are missing in our being and becoming. I'm sure that you have number of questions. I'm sure that we have number of ideas moving around with hearing this topic, that what is missing in our being and becoming. And I'm sure that by discussing with us panelists, we'll definitely reach out to some conclusion today. So with this, I want to start this panel discussion. I want to open this forum with a basic question to everyone, all the panelists. We'll go one by one to you, and I would like to know that, we'll start with Mr. Deepak from Ghana, that what is missing, what do you think about this? And you have a limitation of time, so 2 to 3 minutes to discuss about this. Then we'll move to Sh.Neeraj Prasad, and finally we'll move to Subrata. So we'll start with Deepak sir, that what do you think that what is missing in today's being and becoming?
Joy Guru, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm actually welcoming quickly the elite panelists we have heard before. All the global audience who have been connected now, seekers of life, lovers of existence, and followers of Sister Joy Guru. I think the question that was been sent to me earlier is basically, what do you feel adaptation and inclination towards modern culture has undermined the concept of being and becoming in today's youth? That was actually what I was being touch base with. I would like to just go quickly that I partially agree to it. I don't agree to it fully because it's an extensive subject. Due to time restrictions between 5 to 7 minutes, I would like to reflect on it and try to share my own thoughts and views. If you go to understand culture, forget about modern culture. Culture, how it is defined basically, is basically an art and manifestation of human intellectual achievements regarded collectively. Then again, going further, it's basically a way of life or the quality of a person which arises from our concerns regarding from our habitual habits and other things in life. So that's basically what is called culture. What is this traditional, modern, ancient, keeping that aside. Then moving towards the second part of the question, the adoption and inclination towards modern culture, how it has undermined our concept of being, basically being and becoming. Like previously, our panelists has extensively touched this part in the light of Sister Thakur or even other ways. Life and growth is basically called becoming by Sister Thakur. Being and becoming has been very briefly summarized by Surjadai as exists and evolve. So going by it, being basically is regarded as the constant state of heightened consciousness if it requires the synthesis of learning and imagination and a condition of artful living. Also, on the other words, we can tell the practice of heightened awareness that all of us takes to more possibilities to being is able to handle a variety of discords to unify. Further to it, our understanding is that being related to cognition, assigning characteristics and values, a range of behaviors, including problem solving, creativity, and experience to the optimal. Going by the previous panelist, I would like to briefly tell that how basically this modern culture has undermined the concept of being and becoming. What we are facing today, which is basically impacting our being and becoming, is basically the qualities that actually enhances or makes our becoming element more robust, which Sujata and other panelists also very in detail expanded to. Like Sujata was telling, in today's life, as the becoming element has become not robust, we are finding suicidal attempts, we are finding divorce cases, we are finding people not being happy, people being stressed, people not being able to complement their lifestyles. So these are basically side effects of not being happy or not being following the right spectrum of being towards becoming. So it's not the modern culture basically that has impacted our becoming segment adversely, is rather our lifestyle, our practice, our adherence to a supreme guru or superior guide has actually diverted us to most extent, whereby we've not been concentric or guru centric or ideal centric, and that has actually made us basically to divert from a kind of a more holistic lifestyle. Giving some examples, or maybe just to put through, we just hear some things a few days before when Government of India banned some Chinese apps. Some young girl has suicided because of this TikTok application has been blacklisted. Think about it. How does somebody can take his or her life because an app has been banned? So that's basically, we can tell that how the modern culture, like we're talking, not culture, basically how the lifestyle or so-called cultural lifestyle has impacted our becoming and even to the being, basically existence of our life. Just one example. Secondly, I will rather just try to step forward back and try to take that as parents, as elders in the family, we have a lot of reflections and impact on the new generation, which we call who are invoking or practicing modern culture, how it impacts their being and becoming, because it's a practice throughout our life. As the young children look at their parents or elders at home in society, what we invoke, what we practice, what we basically deliver through our day-to-day life or through our inclination towards our becoming, that basically reflects or impacts their life. So it's basically a translation of our own culture, what we practice as elders or parents or as relatives in our family or society, that impacts basically the new generation or the modern generation or the modern culture. I hope briefly that's what I can conclude, keeping the timelines in place. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jagannatha. Joy.
Well, Deepak is saying that there are some wide spectrum we have, but the fundamental things as a human being we are missing. So I will move on to the next panelist, who is our Sh.Neeraj Prasad from UK. I would like to ask Mr. Neeraj that as a topic, I will ask you the different question altogether afterwards, but as a topic, when I'm saying that what is missing in today's being and becoming, what would be your reply? I can't hear you. I think you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Jai Guru, everybody. I'll start all over. I was speaking on mute. So I think thank you, Jagannath da, and thank you, Deepak da, for giving such a great view of yours. And I'm very, very touched that I've been given an opportunity to speak about this topic, which is very encompassing every satsangi in this world, and it should be encompassing all the global citizens of this world. So being and becoming, I mean, the first way I would look at it is first to understand what being and becoming is. And what I did was I've always been a practitioner. I consider myself to look at some of the philosophies that Sri Sri Thakur teaches. How do I practice that in my life? And unless I practice it, I cannot feel it. You know, so you can read things, you can assimilate, but the real imbibing of those things can only happen if you practice them. And I tend to practice those things step by step, and you learn from that experience. So I'll tell you, I'll start from, and I'll be brief, and I'll start with some views that I have around what do I understand from being and becoming. You know, it's the way I read it, you know, Jagannath, is its existence and growth. You know, and if you you know, we are all managed, we all are in, we are all born with complexes in our life, you know, and complexes can be your servant, and it can be your master. And the key thing that Sri Sri Thakur has taught us is how do you therefore master your complexes? Because if you are a human, you will not even know and you will not even realize, but you are being led by your complexes. And this is the reason for having a guru, you know, who is ideal, will inspire us to control the complexes in our life. And time and again, this has happened. When the complexes control us, we are at risk of becoming all of the things which are evil, which make us selfish, which give us, which on the face of it gives us a lot of satisfaction, but they do not give us fulfillment in the long term. I think, you know, starting with that being and becoming, and I think we've understood it, and everybody, right from Shivananda and Professor Bhaswat and other people and the panelists who have spoken about it. But I just wanted to give that context before I actually talk about what is missing, right?
Right.
So if you look at it, what is missing, right? Human complexes are still in control in the absence of the ideal in our lives. They are still in control, and what we see in light of this you know, global pandemic, it has come more and more in prominence, right? Otherwise it was always there. People don't talk about it, they don't share it. When you speak to people and you ask them, how are you, and they will say, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm great. But do we really ask people, how are you? And I saw a post, you know, on WhatsApp which talked about this fact, where we should ask our friends when they say we are good, but you feel they're not good, you should actually persuade them to open up to you. And this was the entire thing, you know, we spoke about suicide, you know, Deepak da gave a reference to suicide. If you look at it, complexes have not gone, and they're still there. And unless and until we do something about those complexes, Jagannath, we will continue to speak about this. And it is increasing. It is increasing. I'll tell you, our life has become more comfortable. So we you know, when we were growing up, we did not have the internet, or we did not have phones, we did not have communication, we did not have knowledge. I used to aspire to have encyclopedias Britannica, you know, with me. Today I have it on the, you know, on the tip of my finger. Encyclopedia is this. And what happens with this is, while it gives you a lot of opportunity in terms of knowledge, it does not. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I was hearing an echo, so I've just stopped there. So what if you look at the entire way the complexes are, our ideal can help us. And the way it is proven is, and the way the analogy I give here is that if you look at, you know, I don't know whether people have heard of Abraham Maslow. he made this very good theory about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I recalled one of the slides that Bhaswat Das spoke about, in which he talked about survival, development, and actualization. And actualization is one of those stages of the basic needs of hierarchy for a human being. And the way, you know, Thakur explains it is very well. You know, Thakur has said on being and becoming. It's a very good line, and my father spoke about it some time ago with me, and he said, there's a line in Satyanusaran which says, I don't know what is good for me. Thy will is good for me. So let your will be fulfilled by me. Now, it's very difficult to understand it if you read it by itself. But in essence, what it talks about is that if you have an ideal, you have an opportunity for you to control your complexes. So the complexes are still out of our control. And to be able to manage them, we need that ideal. There are gaps. You know, if I look at what is missing today, people are not connecting enough. You know, there is an island, a Greek island called Ikaria. I don't know whether you guys know about it, but in that island, various people, not of the same family, they live together. They celebrate. They have a feeling of community. They have a feel. They are a convivial lot, caring for each other, and they are together. You know, and it's not about family. They're all together. And what happens, because they're together, they're connecting with each other. The famous saying is, if you live there in that island, it's in the Aegean Sea in Europe somewhere, you will be invited for at least 100 birthdays a year. Now, that talks about intimacy and love and caring, and that happens in that community, such that you develop close relationships, and each person feels cared for. They feel secure. And you know what? The life expectancy there in that small island is more than 100 years. That's the life expectancy. What can medical care do against that kind of life? You know, so I think there are a lot of gaps. You know, I would say, Jagannath, there are other gaps that I have in my list. I'm conscious of time, but self-esteem. That's the one big gap that we see in this day and age. You know, people have this thing around, am I acceptable in the organization? I'm very intellectual, but people don't listen to me. People don't hear me. You know, I have been educated so well. I have contributions to make, but people don't listen to me, right? And people get the self-esteem is not about ego. It goes quickly into the ego field, where people feel that they're not important anymore. Self-esteem is a healthy thing. Self-esteem is it's all about you feeling confident about yourself, and you're also feeling that people feel confident that you can do quite a few things. Now, if either of those boxes are not checked, your self-esteem is a gap, and the people in the society therefore start feeling depressed. You know, there was a question on depression earlier on. They start feeling depressed, and if that depression is not taken on head-on, it deteriorates over a period of time, such that they become lonely. They stop talking to each other and the society. So I think that's another big gap that we see in the society, you know, and therefore, because people have that gap of self-esteem, being able to connect, they have limitations around even exploring new opportunities, exploring the way of talking to new people. Today, we are very much happy with our cell phone, and we can be on it for hours and hours, but we don't want to talk to the next person who's beside you. Why is that? Why do not people want to talk to each other in this society? So all these are gaps. If you look at it, people are dying of loneliness. You know, during this entire pandemic, I don't know whether you've seen it, but at least in the UK, there are people. I have a UK operations here in the UK, and people want to come to work because they're living alone in their apartment. They have nobody to interact with today. How are they going to live their life? They feel depressed. So the fact that you are a human being, you need to interact. You need to have social connect, and that is a gap today. And it's become very prominent now because of pandemic, because people are now confined to home. But even in a pre-pandemic situation, in the developed countries, this is a big problem. Loneliness. You know, there are helplines which are shared by the. So I just want to just say that there are quite a few gaps there, Jagannatha, and I think being and becoming is very a relevant topic for all of us to explore. Thank you.
But essentially, you brought a point that this integrated society, because we have more gadgets, we have more information today. I remember that you told that in your young age there was no mobile phone, there was no information to get into internet, but there were books, there were friends around us. But now we are in a stage that we have everything in our fingertips, but those basic elements are, this is the reason we are talking on this topic, that what exactly missing, where we are, it's essential to move on one hand that about the technology, science and advancement, but on the other hand, to create a balance, we also need some kind of value system in us. I think that is basic thing. Let's move to the next panelist. Subrata Nath is a young fellow who's doing research in Germany. So I would like to know from Subrata, if you can hear me, that you must have
Yes,
seen your
Jayaguru.
student life. I would like to bring this, you bring your experience from the student life. That what do you think that young generation students, where you see there's a gap? What is missing in today's being and becoming in your prospect? It would be interesting to see, because we have already crossed that stage.
Yes,
And
yes.
you are there, still there, and you're doing, so you're quite there within this environment of students. So that insight will be helpful to us. So if you can elaborate a bit about this.
So thank you first of all. Actually, I'm extremely sorry I could not unable to show my face, because yes, last week I thought to arrange something, but from Monday I'm severely ill, and luckily yesterday I got my corona negative. So that's why today I sit here. So thank you for this thing, and Neeraj da, Deepak da, Jagannath da, Jayaguru, and it's a very nice question. So as this thing is related to, as I'm representing Satsang, so everything, my views, my science, student life, and everything, always I try to correlate from the view of C.C. Thakur Anukul Chandra. So anyway, Swami Vivekananda ji, he said that Joto Mot Toto Pot. So everybody has their own views. But I always correlate this thing with C.C. Thakur Anukul Chandra, what he says and this thing. So whatever Jagannatha asked me that what is this gap and what is missing in student life, and regarding being and becoming, what we are missing, like basically when I was in IIT, so most of the students are from technical background, but IIT Guwahati, you know, is one of the India's most you can say notorious institute, where every year regularly students are committing suicide. And I think IIT Guwahati is in the top position. And eventually, the last year of my life, one boy whom I met in the morning when I was coming to lab, and he said me like, "Good morning, brother." And at 11 o'clock, he committed suicide. So he was just beside my room, his room was. So I was very much upset with this thing. Means what is missing in students' life? Because when like Deepak da and Neeraj da, even when Jagannath or me, when we have studied, so that time not so much complications in the world, because we don't have lots of these electronic gadgets, no social sites. Leave this Neeraj and Deepak da, they are a little bit old people, but even in our age also we did not use. But nowadays we have lots of friends in social media, millions of fans. Still, people are missing something. People are missing something, and that's why they are lonely in some part of their life. They may have like millions of friends and everything, but they are missing something. So I think we should. That is the main reason why we need a living ideal, because C.C. Thakur said, whatever already they discussed as what is being and becoming. C.C. Thakur said that baste norer jaja lage tai niye to dharma jabe. So dharma is not a defined thing. Means if a new new generation techie or new generation guy, whatever he needs to maintain his life beautifully, to sustain and to grow his life, whatever he needs, everything belongs to dharma. But the problem is that this is the main thing we are putting here, the young generation. What I face, I have seen most of the students in IIT when I was there. This is the little bit arrogance. and we know everything. This is like what is called ego, self-ego. And for this thing, because you see, life is a very big school. We have read one article during our school days that when we pass the school and we come to our life, practical life, then we see that this is the big school, and we our life will be invested here to learn how to pass this life beautifully. So when we study in some like big institute and students are like they are only dreaming, they forget this respect. First thing, they neither showing their respect to their elders, nor are there useful message given to the society. And the main problem is that is entertainment, like how to entertain ourselves or friend, but not how to entertain my heart, my soul. Just everybody is running only some what is called the material life, for a material life. That's why you see so much of technology for every possible happiness in our life, ease of work, and after having our name, fame, lots of money, everything, millions of fan followers in social media, people are lonely nowadays. They enjoy this for a few days, like few days you are doing Facebook and WhatsApp, everything, but suddenly they start feeling depressed. Suddenly it comes in your mind, and they feel lonely, and then finding no way, even they kill their own life. You have seen, Dada told that nowadays this incidents are happening. So is this for what we are doing so hard our work to attain a good life, or our parents are investing all their hard-earned money, happiness for our future? Definitely no. So we should know what we need, how to use the modern science technology to uphold our life to grow positively. And that is again that what we said, or whatever in the panel discussion you people are saying dharma, that what Sisi Thakur says, jida to dharan poshan bardhan, means how to uphold your existence, how to grow your existence with surroundings, your environment in harmony, not hurting other people, how to enlarge your like life, your growth, including your family, your society, your country, or in a big sense you can say the universe. So uh, this is, I think, the main reason, because we this little bit our self ego, that we are more knowledgeable than our old age parent, and we generally what is called ignore this thing. But one important thing I'm just telling I will not take much time because I'm not feeling well still. This Dalai Lama, when he was asked that what is the thought for your humanity, he said that man, because he sacrifices his health in order to make money, then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. And then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die. And then he dies having never really lived. So that's what we are doing in the present generation. We are running for something, and at one stage when we have everything, we are missing something, and that time we don't know what we miss, what we are really missing. So I think this is the thing.
Yeah, so you have made couple of points out here that there were people who committed suicide because there were some missing points. When you say, I got a message from somebody from US early morning there, and they want to ask that what is and why this disintegrated society, what is the main cause of this disintegrated society? Because we have seen that before a couple of generations back, there were unanimous people used to stay together. Mr. Prasad has just given an example. There were an island near Europe where people like having life expectancy more than 100 years. They live a life with a community, take care of each other. There's a very good affection around them. Then when you're saying that these are missing, we grow up with technology, we grow up our economy, but now we are actually working as a silo, and we actually become a unit, not as a component together. So, Mr. Deepak, with few seconds, what would be your take on this? If you want to share your experience that integrated, yeah. I'm just repeating my question. When you're saying that this integration, so what do you think that what should be the solution of this integration? Because that's something which actually missing from our being and becoming, and somebody brought rightly from the US, somebody, he forgot to mention his name, But I'm thanking my viewers that he actually brought a very good point out here.
Implication of why the young and premature deaths are happening, is that your question?
I'm repeating my question. Disintegration of the families and societies. He's asking that somebody from US has dropped a question out there. I'm just repeating I'm echoing his words.
No, what is the question? I'm still trying to get it exactly. What exactly you want?
I'm asking the
reason,
he's asking the reason of, he's asking the reason of disintegration.
Disintegration.
Yeah.
Of the family. Disintegration of the family.
Okay. Would Neeraj will be replying, or I'm replying? Who
No, you have to reply. I was just repeating what Jagannath was saying. So you will reply.
Again, it is about disintegration comes from, again, a word called integration, is the reverse of it. So as we don't stay connected with again, like the disintegration is actually the reverse part of integration. The prime cause to me basically is losing again some of our core values and cultural upbringing. That's to me is the core reason. If you look today, a family, in a family, basically before, we always talk about joint family or integrated family. Today we talk most about nucleus family. Even though somebody is staying in the same city, people prefer to stay separately and isolatedly. And the purpose behind it could be, again, like just before our panel speaker was mentioning, in search of happiness, academia, maybe fame, people have become so isolated and disintegrated from their core values. People started feeling that happiness could be found somewhere else, and not really what we like. Neeraj was also mentioning before that in our young age, we used to live happily. We used to be so connected to our roots, so connected to our family. The basic gap I personally feel is the way perhaps we are looking at our lives today, and the way perhaps we become mostly disconnected from our values and traditional upbringing. And that is the root cause of disintegration of families.
Sure. So, Mr. Neeraj, I would like to ask you the same question, that disintegration is happening for sure. We are disintegrated, and this force is acting very fast. It's like a magic that is happening automatically. A rippling effects, if you can see, that is going generation by generation, and it's increasing. The nuclear family is in picture right now. I don't know how to segregate this nuclear in advance. In future, what they're going to do. So, what is the cause? Why we are disintegrated? Is it that we have left out a common ideal?
Yeah, I think, see, it's a difficult topic. If you look at it, our society has been undergoing disintegration ever since liberalization happened across the world, not just in India. And when liberalization happens, it leads to economic development, which is always good. But then it meant people who are living in a community, in an area which is not very far from each other, had to migrate out. So that is one big reason which is there. But I think the living ideal and having one ideal can bring that together, because you cannot stop liberalization and globalization. You just can't. I mean, today there are benefits of globalization far outstrip the entire community piece which is there. So how do you therefore maintain the community living, the best of breed kind of approach to community life, to social life, in such a situation, whilst not destroying the good things, the goodness of development? So it is about creating that balance. But if you want to create that balance, the one thing that you will do real disservice on is by not having an ideal. Because if the ideal is there, you have more commonality. of views, of thoughts. We talk about diversity, right? Not all 5 fingers are the same. People are different, and therefore their complexes are different. But what is it that in our satsang and Sri Thakur's teaching brings us all together? What is it that brings us all together? It is about human compassion. It is I think Mahapatroda earlier on talked about the fact that there is no religion. There are all these isms. It's just actually all of that is all existentialism. He made that point, and I think I really go back and I really liked and appreciated that point, is that Sri Thakur was not talking about religion. Religion is existentialism, and how do we exist together, taking care of our surroundings, of our environment? I think it's about creating that balance. So this service would be that if we do not have a common ideal which helps us to beat the complexes that we have, so we get rid of jealousy, we feel proud when people do well, rather than we feel, oh my god, why didn't I get it? Why didn't I make that much money? Why didn't I get that promotion? Why didn't I get that posting? It is a complex. But if you are following the living ideal, which is all about looking after your environment, giving love to each other, not asking for love. That was another gap which I see in this being and becoming today, that love is always considered as a lack of love. So everybody says, I don't have love, I don't get love, nobody loves me. But what about giving love, which is the love Lord's main teaching? Thakur's main teaching was about giving love. So much love that you give out to people rather than asking for it. Because we are human, we will be greedy. And that is a complex for us. But it is about finding that balance. And I think the way to kill it is the living ideal. People have ideals. I mean, we have Sri Thakur and we are lucky to have them. But other people around the world, do they have an ideal? I don't think so. Not many people. I know many friends and colleagues that I work with. They might be followers of Christianity. If you look at the UK, there is a big proportion of the population which is moving against religion. Actually, they say no religion. There is a big, I think there's 20% of the UK population today who does not have any religion. They do not identify themselves with any religion, right? So the fact is, there is a need, but they don't have any other ideal as well. So what is their ideal? And they keep searching, they keep talking. And I think if you look at that, I spoke about the Maslow's need of hierarchy. When you go above from the basic needs that we need, everybody has the basic need. All of us has the basic need, and some people are getting there. But I think it's about how do you become a good citizen? Thakur's philosophy is all about man making. I think Mahapatroda talked about Alexis Carrel's story around man of science does not know the science of man. I think that is a subject that we do not teach in our schools, we do not teach in our university, and we do not teach at home. It feels like we treat it like something that we do on the side. When everything is done, we do it on the side. So I think the only way to do it is what we do and what Sri Thakur has done. And I think following that path as much as possible that we can find time for is the only way we can work through it. I can't see any other solution, to be honest, because globalization will continue to happen.
Right.
Does that kind of make sense, Jagan?
Growing globalization, absolutely. I think you made a point here, because to have a universal brotherhood, we should have a universal fatherhood first. And I think that will integrate the entire society. Right now we have ism, different kind of ism, which completely explained by our previous speakers, that we have Hinduism, we have Christianism, we have Sikhism, we have another ism, but we don't have existism, that we have to survive. In this corona, everybody is putting masks, irrespective of the fact that which religion or which ism you're following, but you have to protect yourself. So I think that is the main fundamental point we have to identify as a human being, that we are first of all, we are human being. And if we are a human being, we are saying that we are human being, we have to identify that what is our ism should be. It should be a communityism, or it should be a being or becoming person. And if that is the one, then we have to follow somebody who's actually talking about that. So when we are talking about ideal, let's come to the another aspect of this discussion, that idealism. When you're saying that we need an ideal to reference, I would like to ask again our young fellow that what do you think, Shubrat, that what is that idealism? Why we need any reference? Why can't we say that, I don't need anything. I am good enough. My parents are good enough.
Right. Jagannatha, very nice question, and I'm really lucky to hear what Neeraj said. It is a very beautiful thing that we are becoming more and more like greedy and selfish. So thing is that what you asked me that, so this comes that does the lack of advice or communication, influence, or living ideal make it hard to, influence of living ideal is important or not? Yes, definitely. Only then will you know how to lead a life. Because you see, if our parents, our first teacher, did not teach us how to move forward, what is right, what is wrong, we would have grown up not knowing the difference between true and false, or truth and lie, and it would be very difficult for us. But it is unlikely that they will not do it for entire our life. But we have to live our entire life, because my teacher, my parents will not go with me whole entire life teaching this thing. So there is to be someone who is supposed to guide you on the right path, and who is able to understand your pain, helping you or clear your mind of doubts and helping you cross the ocean. So the thing is that if we ask that is a living ideal required for everyone or not, so it is a little bit difficult to answer, but for me, because as I told that I think that in satsang I got a living ideal. So always my views are always from the amalgamated perspective, not like disintegration or something, whatever you were telling like that. So I'll always tell that yes, everybody need to follow someone, or who will listen to you, means whom to follow, because you have to tell your problem, you have to ask to solve your problem to someone, and he should listen to you. There are many individuals in today's society as philosophers who display a larger life form. So many godmen are also there who have very huge knowledge, but suddenly what happened, we receive some bad news of doing some ill things by them, and they have set a wrong example in the society. And as a result, what happened, people have lost the trust and faith, and usually find it difficult whom to approach, what to believe. And also something, why we need to start with all this philosophical stuff at this young age? So I too had the same problem. It's not like that. I too had the same problem. I want to live happily, but do not how. And when I was doing something, I was doing research, if the reactions are not going on, it's failed. I can tell my parents that it's not going on. What they will say at 10 o'clock, why you are in the lab, you just go to room and sleep. They don't have any solution. But you need some solution for that one. You should have someone that you can cry that, yeah, this thing is not going on, and they should have some solution for this one. So I think it is very important for this, because Sri Thakur says in one point that failure need not to be weakness. To fail to try is weakness. If despite your all-out effort, anything, you fail to succeed, no harm, carry on, do not stop. That unblemished effort must carry you towards goal. And this is the main Vani, whatever I told, that when I was also thinking that about to commit suicide or something, like when I passed 4.5 years in IIT, I did not have a single paper, only 5 months left for my PhD thesis fellowship end. And after that, my family was not so much able to support me, like in IIT, because we have lots of money you have to pay in every semester. So I did not have any way to go out from this trauma. Then when I was reading the Satyanarayana, the Pursuit of Truth, and I got this Vani. And you see, you are reading Satyanarayana every time, you will not feel every Vani, but whenever you need something, and that Vani will strike in your mind. You can feel this thing, the people who are following Satyanarayana. And when I read this Vani, that this your unblemished effort must carry you towards goal. And whenever I read this, I get energy. And as I said, I am from Satsang, inspired by the philosophy of Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra. So I think I have found many solutions in my life here. But of course, it's only my view. And Sri Thakur says the purpose of life to drive away want completely. And that is possible only by knowing the cause. And therefore, we should go somewhere where we'll get the knowledge of this cause. Otherwise, we will not, what is called, the knowledge we are getting from book, it will not solve our every problem. So I think we need an ideal for everyone. Whoever is following somebody is different, but we need and ideal for everyone. So this is my point of view actually.
Right. I also would like to cite one example that when we born as human being, that uh, we have our parents to refer to. We don't know everything, that how to walk, how to talk, or we take some reference point. So we take some reference point for our parents, that how to take a walk, how to go to school, what we should do. So we have teachers in different level of life. The moment we go out of this uh, home and we go out and we have friends from different people, different background, we have different complexity developed slowly. And there we need a superior teacher who can actually lead our life. We can actually talk to us and give us a practical solution to it. It cannot be an abstract philosophy. So we have, for generation by generation, we have this habit to have living reference, because when Ramachandra came as a prophet of that time, there was Vedas available, books, as you rightly mentioned, that bookish thing cannot be taken for granted. That books were there, but he came there in land, had demonstrated as a human being that how a human should lead a life at that point of age, at that time. The time changed, and again a ideal came, and then we have this age, we have a superior, somebody who's actually for this time, which actually making sense to this current world. So I think we have discussed a lot, and this topic is something that we cannot complete in few hours. So we have to respect that time. With I would like to take a conclusion bullet points. I would like to 3 bullet points from each individual. That what do you want to conclude this discussion as? What is the missing element? With 3 bullet points, that A, B, C. You want to conclude that this is what I see, that these 3 points are missing. And another thing is, I want that what is the solution in 1 bullet. So I will go by one by one each panelist. I would like to take now reverse order. I would like to take a youngest fellow first. So we have Subrat. Subrat, would you like to let us know that, what are the 3 bullet points you were to highlight that these are missing, and 4 bullet point that this is the solution for it?
Jagannath, actually, in a bullet point is very difficult for me because I'm not so experienced person. But again, this the thing is that what you are telling that missing, we all discuss everything. So I think whatever the very precise way, the present technology, globalization, everything we have to adopt in our life, because Dharma says the same thing. To sustain yourself, you have to adopt this thing, but we should know how to use this thing in a proper way. And the main thing is that for that you need a good ideal. I'm not telling that Sisi Thakur or what. We need someone who can teach how to properly maintain our life. And what is satsang literally means that community of lovers of existence. This community exists whenever man hopes and dreams of an expanding life, where people love their life. And of course, each and every creature in this world loves their life. So I think if you love your life, you can't stay alone. You need the society, you need the environment. So how to live happily together with your environment in harmony is the basic need in our life. We should know this thing, not individual existence.
Right. So let's go to the Neeraj. Mr. Neeraj, you want to highlight 3 bullet points according to you that you think that this generation, today's world is missing and being and becoming. And the 4th one is, what is your solution, your proposal?
Okay. So obviously, trying to shoehorn into 3 is fine. I think I kind of spoke about some of them earlier, but I do think from our perspective and from all the panelists who have spoken today, I did make some notes on them. And I think some of the things that really resonated for me was the fact around existence. And so being is our existence. So that is the point number 1. Is therefore, if we want to exist, what do we need to do? So in that part, if I look at from an existence perspective, and all the respected panelists have made their point of view around why it is important for us to exist. But the one thing that really resonated for me came from Professor Anirban Chakravarti. He said, to survive, which is about existence, you don't need to be the strongest to survive, but the person who is the most responsive to change can survive, right? So I think that is a key takeaway that I would look at, number one, from a survival perspective, that we need to be responsive to change. And it kind of resonates with what our my fellow panelists have been talking about, which is this is going to happen. Change is a permanent thing. So how do we therefore respond to change? So that is point number one, which I feel that is number one, which is something important. The second point that I would like to make is around this entire point around the generation, the young generation that we have. And I think because they are going to be the generation of the future, and they're going to see much more technological change than we as a generation have seen. And I think for them, it's really, really important that they come with a purpose in life, and they understand. If you look at it, a lot of the young generation, they will feel that why they need for a living ideal. And I think it's like a purpose. So for example, the purpose in your life cannot be that you want to make money and as much as possible, because survival in today's world is not an issue. Most people I have seen, and I'm reading more and more stories, and when I was young, I could not read those stories, but today the stories are there of people who have come from abject poverty, and in their teenager, they've been able to get over it, because there is a lot of global attention for people who are in hardship. And therefore, in that light, where there is a need for a living ideal is very important, and it kind of deals with the purpose. So if you have a very good purpose, and that purpose could be that you want to work for a global corporate, or you want to work for anybody, and you on the way of that, the outcome should not be money. The outcome should be that you should love what you do. And if you do not love what you do, then you are in a way, you don't have an ideal either, because you're not dedicated to it. You should work in that way. So I mean, the one thing which is a great thing around becoming is about that the continuous adaptation. But how will you do continuous adaptation in this life unless you imbibe the living ideal in such a way, or the purpose in your life in such a way? Yeah, sorry, can you hear me? I had a disturbance.
Bullet points.
Bullet points. So that is the second point that is there, Jagannatha. I think finally, I mean, that is the way I would conclude it, to say that these are two things that I would say, rather than making it 3 bullet points. But the way to go through these two big problems that I spoke about, which is survival, being, and becoming, is to find the living ideal. And that can be anyone. Obviously, I have been initiated by Shri Thakur, but I think finding that ideal and understanding that ideal and actually giving it a go is important. And people who are not giving it a go, I think they need to think again. So that is how I would conclude it, Jagannatha.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Deepak, I would like to ask the same, the 3 bullet points. It should be a bullet points, 3 bullet points, and then what is your suggestion to resolve it? Very quickly, we have very limited.
Yes. Just basically what has been discussed, I don't want to tap into those suggestions and reflections. I will like to again go by like Thakur's ideology, mostly because we're devotees of Sister Thakur. For me, there are 3 points I would definitely like to make. One is basically about 3-dimensional hygiene integration. It's basically physical, mental, and spiritual integration, which we have an imbalance in life, and we don't have integration of those things. So what now we are in COVID state of thing we are looking at, like people have become more hygienic, more cautious about things. So I would like that in our life we should practice as much as possible to integrate physical, mental, and spiritual hygiene. That is one of my intake, and perhaps one of my things I would like to focus in or try to emphasize. Point number 2 would be basically integration or somehow balancing the work-life balance. most of us, like Neeraj was mentioning before, that we sometimes are being so expanded towards professional achievements or professional excellence. We forget to live another side of life, which also needs equal importance or equal kind of an equilibrium. So inside out and outside in, that balance has to be maintained prudently, and that balance has to be achieved if you want to have this being and becoming, in a way, expansion. Lastly, I'll go back to the same small story perhaps everybody knows, that somebody from America came and asked Sisi Thakur that if you want to tell me in 2 words or as briefly as possible, what should be in my life, what should be my philosophy of satsang. So he told, be concentric. So the more or the larger will be our ideal, will be that much enlarged or expanded in our life. So for me, it will be an integration of physical, mental, and spiritual hygiene. Point number 2 is that there should be a very strong balance and bond between our personal and professional lifestyle. That is second. And third thing, like Subrata was mentioning, that ideals should not be that you can't insist on somebody this should be your idol, but the higher is our idol, the bigger will be our achievement and excellence in life. So these 3 things, I think, these are the bullet points and they are the solutions going forward for me. Leaving what Neeraj and Subrata has already emphasized on. Thank you. Joy.
Absolutely. So overall, if I want to nutshell this entire discussion, it was very interesting and we can carry on, but we have to see the time, and it's actually it's moving on, and it's interesting. We can carry on this discussion, but we have to conclude somewhere. So we are just concluding here with this discussion that we have different subject of life, like yoga, science, statistics, and mathematics. We have history. There are different subject topics around us. If you need a separate teacher for it, then if you call life is an entire subject, you need a teacher for that subject as well. And there a life teacher who's actually fulfilling everyone, because as Neeraj correctly mentioned, that 5 fingers are not equal. Every different personalities are different in their own way. They carry their own baggages, they have their own notion, they have their own thought process. And that's the beauty of nature. For individual, I cannot fulfill everyone. Maybe as a common citizen, I can mingle with maximum people, but it cannot be everyone. He's just one who comes in once in a while, after ages. We call it, prophet of the age. He is the one who can actually fulfills, understands, and can love from inside and fulfills him for generation and generation. And there actually we develop a universal fatherhood. I think once we have this universal fatherhood established, the brotherhood obviously will come, because we have seen in India, because I belong to India, and I've seen that we have different small states, different dialects, different languages. We have so many differences. But when it comes towards the idealship, when it comes to a belongingness, we are there. We forget everything. Whether we belong to this particular state, we speak this language, we forget everything. We always treat as a brother. That kind of unity, I think, will be resolved. I think it will resolve all the issues today we are facing as new generation. What is missing? We are missing number of things actually, but the core root of the point is that we are actually missing a living ideal. And Mr. Deepak correctly said that the higher the ideal you choose for your life, the more expand you can be. With this note, I would like to hand over the stage to our anchor, Ashwati. She can lead further stage of this program. Over to you, Ashwati. Thank you so much, our panelists today. I couldn't make you to join out here. I can see your comment out here that you are in mute. You could not join us, but I'm really sorry this time. Maybe next time we can hear you and we can hear your insight. But this time from here, we have to stop this. Thank you so much. Thank you, panelists. Thank you. It was wonderful talking to you guys. Thank you.